Hey there, welcome to Discovering the Gospel. I'm Mike. The purpose of this channel is to learn the prophetic gospel of the kingdom, according to the testimony of my master, Yeshua, son of David, the Messiah and prophet of Nazareth of the Galilee. He is revealing his gospel unto his saints through the Holy Spirit to save the remnant of the house of Israel from the wrath to come. Okay, I intend to use this presentation to prove beyond all disputation who the house of Israel is, both genetically and racially. This information is definitive, it's scientifically accurate, and historically true. This will be controversial, so prepare yourself, right? You'll probably never read the book of Genesis the same again. Not that that's a bad thing if the Spirit allows you to accept this. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and open us with a prayer, right? To entreat the Father for his blessings upon the work we're trying to do here, and that the information will go forth. Almighty Yahweh, Father, thank you for blessing me with this platform, Father, and giving me the will through the Spirit to do this. Father, I just humbly ask that you allow this information to be a blessing until the coming of the kingdom of Messiah Yeshua. I earnestly and only want to stand before him and to see him in his coming. So, Father, please just make this a blessing for the gospel of the kingdom. Amen. We are going to start here in Genesis chapter 1, right? And now we're just going to speak mostly about genetics and bloodlines, right? So we're going to focus mostly on his creation of organisms, right? Start here, Genesis 1, verse 11. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. Now, what is a seed, and what is after its own kind, right? Well, each organism, each form here, is given its own seed, its own unique genetic DNA, right, to express. They're unique among each one, right? And they can only bring forth after its kind, its own kind, right? Let's come down here to verse 21. And Elohim created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, right? Verse 24 here, right? Let earth bring forth their living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and the beasts of the earth after his kind. Animals can only reproduce their own kind, right? I'm sure most people in this walk understand the lie of evolution. Animals only bring forth their own kind because that's all they're genetically disposed to make, right? Now down here in verse 27, right? Yahweh makes a creation. We'll start in verse 26. That's a little different. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish and over the fowl, right? Verse 27, so Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. So Yahweh made man, the first man, as a physical representation of his own spiritual image, right? A physical representation of his spiritual form. Let's go Genesis 2:7 here, right? And Yahweh Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul, right? He formed him from the elements of the earth, right? He has the same genetic and chemical structure that formed his flesh as we do, right? But his genetic structure was immortal and perfect, right? To be a perfect representation of the expressed image of the Spirit of Elohim. Okay? And his name was Adam. Well, what does Adam mean? It means blood can be seen in the face because of the fairness of the skin, right? This is an expressed genetic trait given as a marker to trace the seed of Abraham throughout all generations. We're going to prove that today. Adam was given fair skin as a white robe to represent Yahweh's spiritual expression of his own light, his own purity. Okay, and then we go on down here, right? At verse 21, and Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh there instead thereof. And the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Right? Yahweh creates Eve from Adam's rib. Now, what is Adam's rib, right? It's his bone. It's his flesh. It's his own genetic material, his own DNA, right? And he formed a woman from his genes, right? All he did was add estrogen, a few more elements from the ground to form the body. And he made a perfect female representation of man. See, woman was taken from man, who was made in the image of Elohim. Okay. She was his genetic, identical twin sister genetically. She was him in a female form. Genetically identical. Okay, I have a fraternal twin sister. The thoughts of that is a little gross. But, these are the most genetically pure people in the world here, right? The first and only two of the perfect form, genetic form in the expression of Yahweh. Okay, now, their bodies, right, are genetically perfect, right, and immortal, which means that they reproduce themselves flawlessly, right, to stay young, they don't die. But Yahweh told them that if they ate from the tree, they would begin to die. And of course, we see in Genesis 3 that when they are tempted, they eat of the tree, right? Let's go here to Genesis 3, verse 9. And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told you you were naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof commanded thee thou should not eat? And the man said, the woman that you gave me of the tree, that you gave me of the tree, and I did eat. He confessed unto Yahweh, right? He repents of his action. And Yahweh said unto the woman, what have you done? And she said, the serpent beguiled me and I did eat. Eve also confesses, right? Repents, entreats of Yahweh for her actions. Okay, and then Yahweh said to the serpent, right? Because you have done this, he says this to the serpent, right? Thou art cursed, you have to go upon your belly. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, between her seed, her unique genetic identification, right? The seed of Adam, and your seed, between thy seed and her seed. Okay. Now, when they had ate, right, how did Yahweh change the immortal cellular functions to mortal, right? How did he make this immortal body that repairs itself perfectly? How did he change that to mortal? With mutation, right? He stopped their perfect genetic replication, and he allowed mutation to begin. Right? We know that's why we age and die. Our cells don't repair themselves correctly, right? They'll make incorrect protein sequences, right? To where our cells cannot repair the damage and they age and die, those mutations of those protein strains, right, is the curse that Yahweh used to change the immortal flesh, the physical immortal nature of their flesh, to a physical mortal nature. Okay, but now notice they confessed, right, and repented to Yahweh. Now we also see here, right, that Yahweh uses mutation on even the plants here, right? He curses the entire earth, curses the ground for thy sake. Okay, thorns and thistles. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee. Plants didn't have thorns and thistles until then, right? Look at roses and blackberries. They now have those thorns. Yahweh genetically mutated their DNA to grow thorns through this curse. Okay. And now Yahweh tells Satan, right? Satan here represents unrepentant evil, right? That he will form a separate seed line unto him, unto unrepentant evil, and segregate it from the seed line of the repentant before Yahweh, segregated from the upright before Elohim. How's he going to do that? With mutation again, okay? Let's go here, Genesis chapter 4, verse 9, right? We know Adam and Eve bear Cain and Abel, right? And Cain murders his brother Abel, an evil act, right? In verse 9 here, and Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel, thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And Yahweh said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now thou art cursed from the earth. Oh, he's cursed again. Which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. Okay, when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And Yahweh said unto him, therefore whoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went up from the presence of Yahweh, and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And this began the seed line cast away from Yahweh, right? The seed of Cain, the seed of the serpent of unrepentant evil. See here in verse 9, where is thy brother? Right? And Cain says, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Lies to Yahweh again. Unrepentant evil. Okay, so Yahweh curses him, right, with a mutation. He puts a mark upon him so that he could be identified and segregated, separated, a fugitive and a vagabond from everyone else on the earth. Okay? And how does he do this? Once again with a mutation. He puts a mark upon Cain. How would Yahweh put a mark upon Cain's flesh? Right? Let me read what I got here. Okay. This mark is a physical difference in appearance to be perceived visually as a separation from the repentant still in Yahweh's presence. It would be a necessity to make a genetic mutation to maintain a pigmented sign in Cain's flesh. This mutation begins the seed line of Satan. Okay. In verse 25 here, in verse 17, where Cain knew his wife and began to make his line, right? Separate from Yahweh. Okay, and then on down here in verse 25, right? Adam and Eve have another son, Seth. And Seth had Enos. And then began men to call upon the name of Yahweh. See, this separate line of repentant and upright before Yah, right? And they call upon his name. In the seed line of Canaan, Cain does not. Now, to back this up, that these are separate lines even more, we go to Genesis 5, where they trace the lineage of Adam, all the way from Adam down to Noah and his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, right? All the way to the beginning of the Semites. And you'll notice that Cain is not listed. Well, Cain, right, was a son of Adam, right? Well, until his flesh was changed and mutated and made different. And so this line is traced all the way down to Noah and his sons, right? This entire chapter gives the lineage of the pure line of Adam's seed all the way to Noah and his sons. This is a certificate of the pure genetic lineages, an affirmation of their genetic purity, and Shem, the father of the Semites, has pure genetic lineage. All the way down to Shem, right? The father of the Semites. Okay, now we also know here in Genesis chapter 6, right, that angels mated with women and created another mutant hybrid race of giants, right? And their genetic contaminations exist in our DNA pool today. Okay, let's go here to 2 Samuel 21, right, 20. Here we learn that giants, right, have 6 fingers and 6 toes, right? That is called polydactyly. Here is a family in Brazil who I think it's something like 16 out of 23 family members, right, have extra digits. So you can count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is on their hands and their toes. Okay, this is a genetic remnant, a genetic marker remnant of the seed of the Nephilim, still in our DNA pool today. Okay, now let's go to Genesis chapter 9, right? This is after the flood, right? Because of all this mutation and contamination of the bloodlines, right? Yahweh wants to destroy the earth. Okay, but Noah pleases Elohim, right? Here, well, this is still in verse 6. Noah pleases Elohim, right? Because he was a just man and perfect in his generations, in his genes, in his lineage. He was perfect. Okay, not contaminated, right? So Yah floods the earth and puts Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, on the ark to save that bloodline. Okay, here in Genesis 9, verse 1, right? Elohim blesses Noah and his sons to be fruitful and multiply. Let's see, where is the... and here in verse 9, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed, right? Remember, seed is specific genetic DNA code after you, right? Noah's descendants. Noah and Shem, who go all the way back to Adam, are perfect in their generations. Okay, and down here in verse 22, right? After Noah got drunk, Ham, the father of Canaan, right, saw the nakedness of his father. This means that Canaan raped his own mother. Okay, now we see, right, we go back to Adam and Eve were basically like genetic identical twin brothers and sisters, right? Well, who would have Cain and Seth would have had to marry? They would have had to marry their sisters too, right? And this is how the separate lines were created, right? Well, here, Ham impregnates his own mother, right? And creates an inbred line of people, right? Mating with one's own mother is too close of a relation, right? And this mutated the bloodline, changed the bloodline even more. Now, I'm not saying Cain became had a twisted form like these people, right? The Whitakers here. But, right, his transgression, his sin of sleeping with his own mother created this line of Canaanites, right, who are genetically different because of the mutations caused by inbreeding with your mother, right? Ham copulates his own mother and produces an inbred offspring called Canaan, right? That causes a lot of those problematic mutations. And Canaan is cursed, right? Just like the earth, like Cain was, to be separated and serve Shem, right? Who is blessed of Yahweh, the Elohim, because he is Shem's Elohim, and Canaan shall be his servant, here in verse 26. Okay, notice the chosen bloodline is the bloodline that serves Yahweh. Okay, now men began to multiply upon the earth, right? And Nimrod, the descendant of Ham, created his own kingdom. Let's see where I can find that. Right here. Ham, Cush. Nimrod was a Cushite. And he created his own kingdom of Babel, right? And Shem, right? The father of children of Eber, Iberians, Hebrews, had these children, right? And Nimrod and them, right, wanted to have his own name apart from Yahweh, right? Because remember, they're descendants of Ham, right? And he starts to build his tower to heaven, right? We know Yahweh intervenes and uses speech as a cultural difference to separate the people again, right? He uses, speech is pretty much a cultural product of genetic differences anyway, right? The cultural differences in people are mostly a result of the genetic differences of their biology. And so, and as soon as Yahweh does this, right, we're given here in chapter 11 another lineage to certify the descendants of Shem, that they go all the way down from Shem to Terah and his sons Abram, Haran, and Nahor. Okay. Okay, now, Haran dies in Ur, and we are giving the beginning of a genetic family tree that Yahweh uses to purify the Adamic bloodline even further. Okay, in chapter 12 here, Yah tells Abram to leave the land of his father, and he will bless him and make him a great nation and promise him the land of Canaan, right? But there is a famine, so Abram and Sarah, his wife, go down into Egypt. Okay, now, we need to start tracing this lineage of Terah and his sons, right? Here in verse 11, we're given Terah, or here in chapter 11, verses 28 and on, Abram had a wife, Sarai, right? Sarah. Let me make sure you can see this here. We're seeing this, right? Yeah. Abram had his wife, Sarai, right? And Haran died in the land of Ur. But we find out that Haran had 3 children, right? Milcah, Lot, and Iscah. We never hear much about Iscah again. Right? So here is Terah's 3 sons, right? Here is Abram and Sarah, Nahor, and Haran, who died, right? But he had Milcah, Lot, and Iscah. Now Milcah marries her uncle Nahor. Okay. They get married. Okay. And so after Abraham leaves, right, him and Sarah go to Egypt, and they tell the Pharaoh that Sarah is Abram's sister. Why would they do that? Because she is. She's his half sister. We're going to find out in chapter 20th that they are actually half brother and sister. Right? You guys see how all that's working out there? Okay. Okay, now Yah promises the lands to Abram's seed, right? Let's go to Genesis 13, verses 14 and 15, right? And Yahweh said unto Abraham, after Lot was separated from him, lift up thy eyes southward and eastward, right? And lands which thy see, I will give it to you and to thy seed forever, and I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth. So numerous will they be, right? This is a promise Yahweh made to the seed of Abraham, the seed of Shem, the seed of Noah, the seed of Adam. See how this all goes all the way back? And now Abram, right, and Sarah, we know, can't have children, or Sarah's barren. So Abram has Ishmael with Hagar, right? Okay. And in Genesis 17, verse 19, Elohim promises Abram that his wife Sarah will bear him a son, and that he will establish his covenant with him and his seed after him, right? And so we know, okay, that Sarah and Abram produce Isaac. Isaac. That's where the name Saxon from Anglo-Saxon came from. Anyway. They have Isaac. Okay, now let's get on over here to chapter 20 real quick. Because I want to show you here, verse 11, right? Abraham and Sarah, lied to Abimelech, saying there's his sister, right? Here in verse 12, right? Or we'll start 11. Abraham says, this is why he lied to him. I thought, you guys didn't fear Yahweh here, so you guys would kill me because my wife's so hot. But verse 12, yet indeed she is my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. So they're half brother and sister, okay? Now Sarah dies right here in chapter 24. And Abraham sends his servant to get a bride for Isaac, right? He specifically tells him, right? Thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of Canaanite, right? But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac, right? Go back to his kindred, to the land of his father, and find Isaac a wife, right? Now we know that the servant finds Rebekah, right? Rebekah is the daughter of Bethuel, who is the son of Nahor and Milcah. Right? Right there. And Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban, right? Laban means white. Isn't that interesting? Another genetic marker. Okay, so Rebekah and Isaac, right? They get married. And in chapter 25, Rebekah has fraternal twins, but twins nonetheless, twin sons, Esau, who has red hair. What's the significance of this red hair? Why are we told about his red hair? And Jacob, our father Jacob, right? Or no, our father Jacob. Right there. Now, what is the significance of Esau's red hair? Why are we told about Esau's red hair? Okay. Well, that's a genetic marker, right? Just like, right, Yahweh wants us to pay attention to this genetic expression of Esau's DNA, just like Adam's rosy cheeks, his blushing cheeks, right? What does the genetic marker of fair skin and red hair have in common, right? It's called the MC1R, melanocortin 1 receptor. It's a gene, right? The melanocytes, right, from this receptor make two forms of melanin, eumelanin and pheomelanin. The relative amounts of these two pigments help determine the color of a person's hair and skin. People who produce mostly eumelanin tend to have brown or black hair and skin and dark skin that tans easily. Eumelanin also protects skin from damage caused by UV radiation and sunlight. People who produce mostly pheomelanin tend to have red or blonde hair, freckles, and light-colored skin that tans poorly because pheomelanin does not protect skin from UV radiation, right? Light skin, red hair, and freckles. Guys, these genetic traits are only expressed by the Caucasian race. Now right, if we mix with other races, they'll express. But the source, right, of red hair, fair skin, freckles, light colored eyes is the Caucasian race. Okay, these are genetic markers to trace the pure bloodline all the way from Adam right here down to our father Jacob. And, and his twin brother Esau. They're twins. They have the exact same lineage. Okay. You guys, look up some more about MC1R and how it works in the gene pool. Okay, now here in, what is that, chapter 28? Let's come back here. Now we know Isaac, right, gets the blessing from here in chapter 8 or Jacob gets the blessing from Isaac. Okay, and what was the first thing that Isaac tells Jacob? He blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise and go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence. Of the daughters of Laban, Uncle Whitey, thy mother's brother, right? So Jacob has to take his wives from the daughters of old Uncle Whitey, Laban. And we know that from Laban, he marries Leah. Now these are all Laban's daughters, Leah, Zilpah, Rachel, and Bilhah. Okay, there you go. All the daughters of Laban. Okay, and of course he has, the 12 tribes of Israel, right? From Uncle Whitey's daughters, from his cousins, right? Leah bears him Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. And Dinah too, right? But she's not one of the sons, right? And Zilpah has Gad and Asher. Rachel, of course, has Joseph, our father of the house of Israel, and Benjamin. And Bilhah has Dan and Naphtali. This is a genetic. If any of you guys ever had middle school biology, right, and you remember Gregor Mendel and his peas, right, and how he would selectively breed from traits, right? This is a selective breeding technique. It is called line breeding, right? What is line breeding? This is how you make separate breeds of any animals, of dogs, of cattle, of anything, right? Even Gregor Mendel's peas. You select for genetic traits from one organism to be expressed from another, and you have to breed back to close relatives in order to maintain the traits of the original, right? Right here's a good definition of line breeding. A form of inbreeding directed at keeping the offspring closely related to a superior ancestor, Adam, the perfect bloodline. See how that works, guys? Yahweh has genetically engineered and purified the seed of Adam with selective breeding to create his people Israel. Okay, now there's a certain group of people over there in the Promised Land who are going by that name, who call themselves Semites, the descendants of Shem, right? Well, what does their DNA, when we look at it, tell us about them? You guys ought to do a search here of Dr. Ariella Oppenheim, right? She did a DNA study of the Ashkenazi Jews, right? And she finds out, right, that they have genetic lineage more like the Kurds, right? They're what's called Khazarians. Okay, guys, they're Khazarian converts from the kingdom of Khazaria that was in Ukraine, right? From 736, I think King Bulin converted the entire kingdom to Judaism, right? To offset the encroachment of Christianity from the west and Islam from the south, right? He converted the entire kingdom to Judaism. Okay, this is in a book called The 13th Tribe. Give that a look, right? And his descendant, Khazarian king Joseph, right, also proclaims in the book that they are not descendants of Shem, but from Japheth. Think of that. He admits that they're not Shemites, they're Japhethites, right? Now they want to tell you, oh, nobody knows what happens to the Jews of Khazaria, right? Another 6 million Jews disappeared without a trace. Okay, these are the Eastern European Jews that fled into Ukraine, Poland, and, you know, we know what happened with World War II and all that, right? The 10 northern tribes of England, right, of northern tribes of Israel, fled from their Assyrian captivity, right? Looking two kings, I think. When the Assyrians took the 10 tribes and placed them in Haran, Halav, and the river Gozan, I think that's how it goes, which is on the just around the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, and the Caucasus Mountains there, just south of that. And they fled up through the Darrow Pass of the Caucasus Mountains to flee from the Assyrian captivity and the Medes from the east that would attack them, and became known as the Anglo-Saxons and created modern Western culture. I claim, guys, that this is beyond dispute. These genetic markers cannot be explained in any other way. Yahweh has given us the genetic identifiers of the seed of Adam, right? It's red hair, fair skin, light colored eyes. Okay, it's not Khazarians from the descendants of Japheth and Turks and Huns, okay? We are the pure bloodline of Adam. Hopefully, you know, I just pray that this information goes out and that people can use it as a tool for self-discovery of who they actually are and what that personally means for them in the gospel of the kingdom and the return of the remnant, and understanding that there may be a plan for them, right? But anyway, that's all I got. I hope to get a lot of questions and comments. Let me know what you think. This is my first video. If you like it, please subscribe, all right, to my channel. Give me a thumbs up, right, so that this information can get out. That's all I got, and we'll talk to you next time.